Hello everybody. And behind me I have my 75-gallon green Jade Neo Caridina shrimp tank. And like so many times here recently, I am going to work on restarting it. I don't think I'm going to do as big as a reset on some of these tanks I've been working on, but making full use of this extra time I've got off work to get some of these tanks caught up. This tank is a real bad mess right now, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's where we're at. This is the before. Like I said, it's a total mess right now. Look at all that duckweed. There's quite a few shrimp in here, but there's not as many as I'd like, and I think part of that, this tank is clear on the other side of the house and admittedly gets neglected from time to time. So I'm not sure. It gets fed and the water changes get down on it, but anyway, it's in front of the house. It's away from it's the only tank on the front of the house. All the other tanks are in the back of the house. So this one gets kind of, it still does pretty good though. So the shrimp shouldn't be too bad. I think the plan here is going to be, it's subject to change. You got evaporation. This tank has a canopy and a stand and everything. Being in the living room and all. Not sitting on cement blocks and boards. Anyway, I think I'm just going to put a row. It's not ideal. I'm just going to put a row of Crips. I'm going to break up these Crips. Just do a Crip with some moss, I think, is what this tank's going to end up being. Some Crips and moss. And then I'm going to get rid of the big rock and all the Pleco caves. And the filters are still running, but just barely. The filters all need serviced and unclogged. Duckweed is a serious concern in this tank. Look at this Anubias. This is one of them same giant Anubias that's taken over some other tanks. And look at this thing. This is one end. And this is a 75-gallon tank. So now this one's growing all the way to the front of the tank. Like, look at how these little Crips, they're getting shaded out by the giant Anubias. So they're just kind of like little micro Crips from all the runners growing. Beautiful, beautiful green jade shrimp in here. I mean, it's a disaster. But like I always say, shrimp like consistency more than anything. And so I like to keep the tanks as untouched as possible for as long as possible, but eventually you got to do something, and we've come to eventually. Every year or so, usually give this tank a real good going over. The shrimp look amazing. I've seen there's a handful of bad ones in there, but I want to try not to pull all the shrimp. I'm just going to look for bad ones, and I've had good success calling these guys before a certain way, and I'll go over that. There are some snail issues. They're not horrible, but I'm thinking if I bait them out with some algae wafers after I get I'm going to pull everything out, get it all cleaned up, organized, get the filters running good again. Then we'll probably have to, after I dig it all up, it's going to be a mess. I'll probably have to let it clear out. And then we'll let it settle. Then we'll start messing with shrimp and figuring out how to get the snails. I guess there are more snails in here than I thought. So I may have to do something about that. I may pull out the gravel and rinse it. I'm not sure yet. But I really, really don't want to have to pull all these shrimp out. We'll see how it goes though. So this will be an adventure. I'm not sure which way it's going or how it's going to end. But we'll go on it together. All right. let's see what the first thing I'm gonna do is start getting duckweed out, and I'll check back in every so often on my progress. Okay, so we've got 90% of the duckweed taken care of. Not all, but a lot. What makes it really hard to get all of it, you gotta get all the plants that are breaking the surface of the water. And this Anubias has taken over a 75-gallon tank. Now granted, it took, I don't even know, maybe it might be 3 years I've had that Anubias in there untouched. The Crips have come and gone with duckweed and overgrownness and all kinds of other stuff. But this is most of these are wind deadeye Crips, I do believe. And this one, I couldn't tell you, I don't remember. I think it's a lutea, maybe. I don't remember. But there's a couple different kinds of Crips in here. That's what we're dealing with. So I'm gonna get a bucket for the plants I'm keeping in this tank. I'm gonna scavenge all the moss up, and it's gonna go back in here because I don't purposely have moss in here right now, but I will. Step number one is I'm gonna cut up this Anubias in pieces because I want to send it to a friend of mine. And it's too big to, I don't even know how I'd fit that in a box like that, so I'm going to have to break it into pieces and see what we're left with. Now that I've got stuff stirred up a little bit more, the shrimp are making appearances. Dark, beautiful green shrimp. All right. So I'm gonna start cutting that up. Cutting up that Anubias and seeing what we're gonna do with these Crips. All right, the first thing we're gonna try to do is divide this Crip, this Anubias up. Let's see here. All right, I got the first little piece cut off. Let's see if we can pull her out. It's attached to the sponge filter. It's growing roots into the. Oh man, we've got a heck of a mess on our hands here. These things are always, not always, but sometimes worse than you'd like. Oh man, come on. Man. Okay, so wow. Look at this thing. This is just the first end I cut off here. And this guy was a big problem. Let me show you what we got going on here. This is the filter intake. The pre-filter sponge I have on this Aqua Clear. This is an old school Aqua Clear. It's actually an Aqua Clear 500, and that was when, I don't know, Blue Ball owns it now, I think. Hagen used to own it, and they used to go by gallons per hour instead of the tank they were ready for. It used to be 500 gallons per hour. But look, that was a problem. That's Anubias Roots. It was attached on one side and coming out the other. Look at that. That done that relatively quickly too. That hadn't been around really all that long. I'm gonna get this back on here. So the filter's still running while we're dealing with the rest of this mess. And these Anubias have huge root systems going into the substrate as well. So there's that as well. And you about need a saw to hack through some of this stuff. Let's see if I can get a better angle here. It's looking alright. Spot the cut, maybe. This should be interesting to see how much roots. Oh, yeah. Alright. Let's see what this chunk has to offer. Yeah, this one. It's got some big long roots going underneath that rock. But really not too bad besides of that. And voila! Got this bucket with water. Putting all the plants in. Alright, next cut. Now this big old hunk of Anubias is just a bare zone. It's looking like. Hack this piece off. See what we got. And this has got big roots going down into it too. Not that much, but enough. Trying not to get it all stirred up too bad, because we still got to catch a shrimp or call them or something. Now, and there's a lot of scallops in here. Everything's going to have to be pulled, which is what I was not looking forward to. Good, healthy looking Anubias. Alright. Here's another good roast tip. You gotta remember, oh man. Another nice big piece. I'm almost tempted to take some of these and try them as house plants, but I can't have house plants because my cats think they're litter boxes. So that's a bummer. Cut That right. And this tank has a heater in it. I do believe from when it was a guppy tank. So I'm going to take that heater out. Oh, there's a big root system. Look at that. Holy smokes. See, this one don't have any grow tips on it because if I wanted to, I could probably plant it and this would probably grow right here. But I'm not that worried about it. So this will just go in the trash. So now we got Anubias Roots. This one. Alright, next cut. Guess now you're not really seeing much. This. Wow. Bruce picked up 5 pounds of rocks with it. Look at that root system right there. Wowzer. Bucket. Man, it's so cloudy you can't even see what I'm doing, so I'm sure it's awesome on the video. This guy, look at this mess. Trying to make sure I don't accidentally get any shrimp in here. Moss. And they got pieces like this. Oh man, that is a lot. Okay, so now I think we're gonna let it calm down some. Yeah, I'll probably just keep going for the Crips because that's gonna make it even bigger mess. Okay, so we've got most of the duckweed. And we've got the whole, well, I got all that gutted out that I could see. Of course, once you start ripping out the Crips and all them roots, everything got real stirred up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to catch everything out of here and I'm gonna have to do it. There's so much mulm and muck in here. I mean, I don't have, it's not that bad, but. So all I'm doing, I'm gonna wait for this to clear out so that I can make sure I get all this. Here's what I missed. A little crypt. Something or other. Just a little fella right there. A piece of moss on him. So I'm gonna let this clear out. I'm not gonna try to do this all in one day, I don't think. Unless it goes way smoother, then the 75-gallon red tank did. Look at all the green jades. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. Okay, we cleared out enough to proceed. I guess it's time to catch a shrimp. And I said I'm kind of worried there wasn't as many shrimp in there as I thought, but there's plenty of shrimps. They're all the way back there in the back, all the way in here. There's lots of shrimp, super red, long fin plecos are in here too. That's fun. I think I got a vision, because I want to keep the Crips in here and a little bit of moss, and I think I'm going to do the strip of gravel in the back to plant the Crips in, and then just a little thin layer of blasting sand up front. That should stay clear. But these shrimp look really good. There's a really off looking one. I don't know if I've ever seen them throw one like that before. But most of them are looking super good. So now there's where the shrimp are going to be caught and put at and sorted. Shrimp catching time. Alright, and this is what we've got. Just barely enough sand to cover the substrate, a pile of rocks in the middle, and I found there's the long fin super red plecos. So, exciting times. Still got some cleanup to do. Wait until you see all these shrimp. I was kind of worried. I didn't think there's quite so many shrimp in there, but there's a lot. And I got all the shrimp back here. These are all green jade shrimp. Would you just look at that? All green jade shrimp. I'm gonna try to get a better light. Alright, let's see if we can get a better look. Look at all these shrimp. And my flashlight's dying. Green jade shrimp. And I found a problem. Why these guys, there's a lot of them in there, but I would think there'd be more than a 75 gallon. I'd say there's probably about 600 or 700 shrimp in here that I would estimate. Perhaps. But the thing that I found on my tank is, this is why you should never ever, I don't care if you get the nicest heater there is. I was checking, I thought that tank felt pretty warm, and it was like 83 degrees. And my heater, one of the Aqueon Pro heaters, stuck on. Now luckily it was only keeping it like 83, 84 degrees. So it didn't kill them, but it definitely slowed them down, because I turned it all the way down to like 68 and it was still on. And then I got a thermometer. That tank has a thermometer on a sticker thermometer. But you should never ever, that was the only heater I had in all my tanks that didn't have a temp controller, and it stuck on. Now if you're going to do that, like I said, make sure you get an undersized heater, so then if that heater sticks on, you're not cooking everything. I just unplugged it and took it out. The only reason there was a heater in there, it's sitting by the front door, and I wanted to keep these guys right at like 70 degrees in case it got cold, but it's not even needed. So it's doing good. Alrighty, start sorting these guys out. Now the plan is just to get the bad ones out. I'm going to do groups at a time. Yeah, my flashlight died. So I'm going to do groups at a time. And just pick out the bad ones and put all the good ones in, and the bad ones will go in the Skittles. Alright, so then this is the process. I got all these shrimp in here, and I'm going to come through, get a decent group of them, put them in the specimen container, deposit. Alright, so this is what we're looking for when we're doing this. Let's see, I seen one off the camera. I haven't found him on the camera. There's a really light one in here. Almost light blue or something. Yeah, right there. So I'm just grabbing them. There's one right there, it's bad. So we'll catch them bad ones out. And then there's only about 750 more to go. Alright, I guess I ended up getting it all done in one day. This actually only ended up taking about 7 or 8 hours. So everything, and I did all by myself. These are the shrimp I culled. Tell most of them are lighter, yellow, or so dark they're black, and some of them are like blue. Some of them almost look like blue jellies. It's kind of weird, but not that many of them considering how many shrimp. I don't even know how many I'd guess are in here. But that's the culls. The whole, I've already seen a couple that I've missed. And it wasn't from shrimp being left behind. I got every single shrimp out of this tank this time. But I guess I just, some of them are almost like clear, and they don't show up in the specimen container. I missed at least one of those in the tank. I'll have to find that one. But I always like to, when I do a big culling, this is the Skittles tank. And here go the green Jade culls in the Skittles tank. And some plant debris. And I think I smashed one on accident. And he's somewhere in there. Alright, now the grand finale is next. The finished product, tank and shrimp line. Let's go check it out. And there we have the finished product. I actually think this cheesy background on this is plastic plants. The closer I look at it, I've never really paid that much attention to it. So I think that's pretty funny. Fake plastic plants in the background with real plants. I got this tank off of a friend, and I never painted it, and I just left the background he had on. He always had like 2 Oscars in this tank. So, and let's get closer. I went with the island. These are just little clumps of moss held down with a rock right now because there's barely enough sand to cover the glass. I have like a half-gallon container of the original rock I saved and rinsed really good. There's even I tried to pick all the marbles out. There's even a marble still in there. It's funny when you buy tanks off other people. We kept the same substrate and even kept it wet, moved it with the substrate and kept it wet so that I kept the cycle when we moved it. So I really like how the tank itself turned out, and the shrimp are the shrimp. Awesome, awesome. Look at how dark these guys are. Some of them I had to pull out because there's no hint of green on them at all. They'd almost turned completely black. Now they're going to change. They're going to change a little bit. Their color presentation is different on black than it was the old pea gravel. And I always liked how they looked better on black, but they're still showing their pea gravel color because they were just put in here. Some of them are starting to look more green. Has a lot of the color presentation has to do, and for my personal preference, or it has to do with the substrate. And for my personal preference, I think most shrimp look better on black. They present the best colors. I ended up just cleaning, rinsing out the intake sponges. Then the filter media in these hang-on backs needs cleaned, but I didn't get around to that, and I didn't want to mess things up too much. So I like the spacing I did. I think, I don't know if I'd call this aquascaping, but when this grows in, this will be amazing. The two big mounds of moss with the island crypt. I think that would be pretty cool. So there you have it. I redid my 75-gallon green jade shrimp colony and the tank and colony. Called everything out. Really happy with how this turned out. Now if it was the background was painted black, this would pop and be amazing. But I just left that cheesy newbie background on there. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Bye.